Welcome back to New World Next Week. I'm James Corbett of CorbettReport.com.
And I'm James Evan Pilato of MediaMonarchy.com. This is a comprehensive defensive agreement that encompasses all military means. We have got that story, plus continuation of the national emergency. But first, UK Prime Minister Starmer announces digital ID cards to curb illegal migration. They're going to stop the thing they started. New digital ID will be mandatory to work in the UK as part of plans to tackle illegal migration. Sir Keir Starmer said the new digital ID scheme would make it tougher to work in the UK illegally and offer countless benefits to citizens, while his senior minister Darren Jones said it could be the bedrock of the modern state. However, opposition parties argued the proposals wouldn't stop people crossing the channel in small boats. The Prime Minister set out his plans in a broader speech to a gathering of world leaders in which he said it had been too easy for people to work illegally in the UK because the center-left had been squeamish about saying things that were clearly true. Can you feel the Trump effect going all around the world? Addressing the Global Progressive Action Conference in London, attended by politicians including Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, all the Crown nations, Sir Keir said it was time to look ourselves in the mirror and recognize where we've allowed our parties to shy away from people's concerns. It's not compassionate left-wing politics to rely on labor that exploits foreign workers and undercuts foreign wages. The broken clock is very right this time of day. The simple fact is that every nation needs to have control over its borders. We do need to know who's in our country. In a conversation following his speech, Keir said he wanted the next election to be an open fight between Labour and Reform UK. In response to the Prime Minister's speech, Reform UK said the public was waking up to the fact Starmer's just continuing the Tory legacy of high taxes and mass immigration. Announcing his plans for the new digital IDs, Keir said the scheme would make it tougher to work illegally in this country, making our borders more secure. It will also offer ordinary citizens countless benefits, like being able to prove your identity to access key services swiftly, rather than hunting around for an old utility bill like a caveman. Another Labour Prime Minister, Sir Tony Blair, tried to introduce compulsory ID cards, but the idea was scrapped by Conservative Lib Dem coalition in 2010, so you know you're in good company. However, Sir Keir has recently said he believes the debate has moved on in the last 20 years as we all carry a lot more digital ID now than we did. The new digital ID will be held on people's phones in a similar way to contactless payment cards or the NHS app. I mean, they can't give you the solution until you react to the problem they've created. And James, meanwhile, all around the developed world, as if in some sort of coordinated queue, Vietnam to delete 86 million unverified bank accounts that lack biometrics. Switzerland votes harder on identity cards for a second time. They voted correctly this time. EU to launch biometric entry-exit system for U.S. travelers starting October 12th. And jumping back to April of this year, France rolls out process to renew ID card and activate your digital ID simultaneously. Fantastic. And it's really, it's got me still thinking about digital Discord democracy that we've talked about recently. Australia's social media ban for teens praised at UN event. Governments and tech firms closely watching effort to block use of social media by those younger than 16, which I would say will cut down on a lot of the social contagions that we see. But James, which American administration, this is the question I was asking on my morning show this week, which American administration will have better cross-party platform adoption of digital ID? You think it'll be the Cokes or the Pepsis? If Hillary tried, or Kamala tried to roll out an ID, all the MAGAs would go, no. But what if Trump tries to roll it out? Will they all say, yeah, because it's to own all those Fujis? James?
Yes, maybe that is the way that they can bring people together across the aisle on this issue, right, James? But hey, yeah, it's to get those damn immigrants. And whatever, there's a way to appeal to this no matter what your voter base is. So the Cokes can always rely on the trendy hipsters to adopt the most trendy technology possible. Hey, you don't want to be like a caveman paying your bills with paper. Oh my God. Or there's the biosecurity scam that they can pull. Well, you need your vaccine ID, so you might as well have digital ID. Or, fill in the blank for the Coke side. For the Pepsi side, of course, it will be the immigration issue. Exactly as predicted. It's almost like you could just set your clock by it. So for people who don't remember, they can cast their mind back to episode 453 of the Corbett Report on Don't Worry, the border problem is about to be solved. Travel ban, in which, of course, I was making this exact point. They're going to point to the immigration crisis that they created and say, look at this crisis. The only way out is to give everyone a digital ID, and then we'll know. We don't need ICE agents on the street. We'll just be able to scan you from a distance. Yay. So that's the way it rolls. And anyway, we know where this is heading, and unfortunately, this is, of course, not just about the United States, as our related stories there prove. Of course, this is a coordinated rollout happening all around the world, all at the same time, just as another example of which I will point to another story that rolled out in the past 24 hours. Russia pilots state-linked digital ID through Max app. Yay, yes, Russia and China will save us from this technocratic dystopia. Oh, wait, they're pioneering the technocratic dystopia. Maybe not. So, yes, unfortunately, this is a coordinated, global, worldwide effort, and I'm unfortunately not going to be able to solve this problem here in the confines of this edition of New World Next Week, but I would humbly suggest that all of our attention, resources, and ingenuity should be being applied to this issue right now. Because in the very, very near future, we could be right in the maws of a digital ID dystopia, the likes of which Orwell and Huxley could barely dream of.
And I hang on to the hope that this won't happen in America. There's no way people will stand up, and there's no way people will go for this. They just might need a little catalyzing catastrophic event to kind of carrot and stick you along. This will be, I know we've said it a few times on these shows as we've been doing these shows for about a decade and a half. Game over, man. But this feels like a real kind of game over scenario. You see the videos in China of not being able to leave or enter any of your gated subdivision sectors unless you scan your face and the turnstiles open up. Cassie and I were talking about this the other day. It's one thing to have the old school subway turnstile styles that, I could hop over it and I snuck onto the train. You're not getting through the full length body, not happening. So yeah, you won't be able to sneak onto a train, but when they roll those out to everywhere, you can't sneak into the grocery store anymore. Hopefully, actually, Brock, please put in some of those. I feel like I was watching a little bit of that recently. Just that it becomes a normal thing. All the little kids all line up to scan their faces to be let in again to their mind control school playgrounds. That's how we get going. On New World Next Week, 6:05. In a lot of ways, James, it's like there are no other stories. If this is the story, then we're screwed, and this is the thing we should maybe pay the most attention to. Oh, but wait, nuclear war. Saudi Arabia and nuclear-armed Pakistan sign mutual defense pact. Grabbing this from the Rothschild Reuters. Everything we say and play is always down in the show notes, as we always try and remind you, if you can't hand off these crazy conspiracy videos to your friends and family, please use the show notes. We work hard putting together notes that source and cite and document all the crazy things we talk about on these shows. Saudi Arabia and nuclear-armed Pakistan signed a mutual defense pact, significantly strengthening a decades-old security partnership a week after Israel's strikes on Qatar upended the diplomatic calculus in the region. The enhanced defense ties come as Gulf Arab states grow increasingly wary about the reliability of the United States as a security guarantor. There are a lot of kind of major changes going on this last year, James. Asked whether Pakistan would now be obliged to provide Saudi Arabia with a nuclear umbrella, a senior Saudi official told Reuters this is a comprehensive defensive agreement that will encompass all military means. Pakistan is, did they mention that they are nuclear-armed, Muslim-majority nation? And of course, if you've done your 9/11 truth research, you know that the U.S. CIA helped set up their own ISI, their own Central Intelligence Agency. So usually probably working pretty closely together, even if maybe Pakistan doesn't know it. and also fields the Islamic world's largest army, which it has regularly said is focused on facing down neighboring foe India. The agreement was the culmination of years of discussions, the Saudi official said when asked about the timing of the deal. This is not a response to specific countries or specific events, but an institutionalization of long-standing and deep cooperation between our two countries. The agreement states that any aggression against either country shall be considered an aggression against both, a statement from the Pakistani Prime Minister's office said, echoing a R2P required to protect other nations' deals have been made. In related notes, the attack on Doha and the Saudi-Pakistan Defense Pact, redefining security and alliances in the Middle East. And, just to make it a little more fun, Jared Kushner and Saudi Arabia to buy EA in a $55 billion deal. Saudi Arabia looking to diversify its investments outside of oil, which is why it is interested in acquiring Electronic Arts, EA, NWO. It's in the game, James.
Exactly right. And what a game it is at the moment, considering the tectonic moves that are taking place right now in the Middle East, including this deal, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia. So the Pakistan nuclear umbrella being extended to Saudi Arabia, at least potentially. I mean, that is a huge shift in power relations in the region. And it comes about, I hope people will follow the link from that related that we're throwing in there from the Neo Journal about the attack on Doha, because clearly something has fundamentally changed there with Israel striking in Doha. Wait, aren't they under the American umbrella? Isn't there supposed to be some sort of security protection? No, we're going to look the other way. Who cares? It was the Israelis. They can do whatever they want. Oh, is that how it works? Okay, well then we better start signing our own agreements. And that's really what's happening right now. And it's a pretty big shift that is happening. So I hope people will follow through on that because, again, the implications of this going forward are quite huge. We're seeing fireworks all over the place right now, so I guess it's hard to keep your eye on all of them, but I'd say this is a particularly important one with the specter of, all-out regional war becoming more and more at least plausible by the day. So we'll see what eventuates from this, but I don't think that this is going to be a small story. I think this will point the way towards future relations in the Middle East.
And one more related about Netanyahu's... Man, Netanyahu was flying around America like he was Bush on the morning of 9/11. You didn't know where he was going to. Oh, it was to avoid arrest while he was flying to New York to, of course, scaremonger at the United Nations in downtown Manhattan. We will include that in your show notes as well. See, a lot happens when we miss just 1 week here in New World next week. And this is episode 605, our third and final segment, kind of a roundup segment, if you will. And unfortunately, it's like, Monsanto, they've ruined that word. I can't even use a funny cowboy roundup word without thinking of transgenic monstrosities. But speaking of Saudi Arabia, continuation of the national emergency with respect to certain terrorist attacks. A presidential document by the Executive Office of the President on September 3rd, 2025, federalregister.gov, consistent with Section 202D of the National Emergencies Act, 50 U.S. Code 1622. I am continuing for 1 year the national emergency previously declared on September 14th, 2001 in Proclamation 7463 with respect to the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 and the continuing and immediate threat of further attacks on the United States. Because the terrorist threat continues, the national emergency declared on September 14, 2001, and the powers and authorities adopted to deal with that emergency must continue in effect beyond September 14, 2025. Therefore, I am continuing in effect for an additional year the national emergency that was declared on September 14, 2001 with respect to the terrorist threat. This notice, repetitive as though it may sound, shall be published in the Federal Register and transmitted to Congress. James, they did it. They seem to do it. It was early. They went early on the renewal, and I could only find it in the Federal Register back when I was first giving you this story, and I was not able to find it on whitehouse.gov. I'm not sure if it has made it to whitehouse.gov, but I get a kick out of it. National emergency with respect to certain terrorist attacks, but not other certain attacks that we're certain that, they're probably behind. Furthermore, on this roundup segment of follow-ups, a follow-up from my ponderings on a recent New World Next episode. It was 602, Rabbits with Tentacles Tick All the Boxes. It was a early Halloween episode. I was like, weren't there mosquitoes that they claimed would go in, infest the bad guys, mate with them, and then they wouldn't breed, and everybody dies, and everybody's happy, but it didn't work that way. And we kind of wondered, and we've run into that before. We've talked about a lot of things on New World Next Week. It's like, yeah, we probably talked about that. I wasn't able to find it in my files in the moment, but I have found it now. And it goes back to New World Next Week, episode 386, Schools Ditch Fondle Slabs for Paper Books, a good news cover story. It goes back to July of 2019, GM mosquitoes breeding in Brazil despite biotech firms' assurances to the contrary. An experimental trial to reduce the number of mosquitoes in a Brazilian town by releasing genetically modified mosquitoes has not gone as planned. Traces of the mutated insects have been detected in the natural populations of mosquitoes, which was never supposed to happen. The deliberate release of 450,000 transgenic mosquitoes in Brazil resulted in the unintended genetic contamination of the local population of mosquitoes, according to new research published in Scientific Reports. Going into the experimental trial, British biotech company Oxitec, good buddies with Dr. Billy, assured the public that this wouldn't happen. I would say the experiment is working much better on humans not being able to breed and reproduce for some reason. I guess they messed it up in the mosquitoes. And as long as we are following up, James, you know, I play the audio of our New World Next Week episodes on Monarchy Radio. And so I heard our recent episode, I heard it once and then I heard it twice. And then the second time I heard it, I was like, hey, James said that the kids had to get Discord democracy, like we were talking about in Nepal a couple of weeks ago, because Generation X sat on their asses. I beg your pardon, sir. We marched in the aughts in Portland, Oregon, which you might hear in the news a little bit, against Obama's Afghanistan surge. Remember, he said it's the right war because that's who totally did 9/11. And we marched a couple of times to try and get, I know, dare us, transgenic monstrosities actually labeled so you can know and look at a food and see. So those are the times that we did march. Thank you very much. So 9/11 emergency, breeding skeeters and marching in the aughts, a mini New World Next Week segment right there, James.
Indeed, and each one of them is probably its own story. But speaking of marching in Portland and the specter of National Guard and all of that, you know, it is interesting that, again, you don't have to have a crystal ball. You know what's coming. So I will point people back to my episode 411 on states of emergency, where I made the point that the governing paradigm of the planet at this moment is emergency and crisis. And of course, a few years ago, it was the biosecurity scamdemic emergency, which was the reason for repealing any and all pretense of rights that you may have. And now it's whatever. There's crime on the streets, so we'll just march the National Guard in or what have you. But it is absolutely still functioning that way. Declare an emergency, and don't worry, we're here to help. We're from the government, and we're here to clean it up for you guys. So that is exactly what this ongoing, never-ending, continuous 9/11 state of emergency that is redeclared every single year is about. It is announcing to the world, this is the governing paradigm. It is a never-ending emergency. Yes, you are still under emergency legislation from 24 years ago, because the bearded, scary Muslim boogeymen came and got you. So you better give up all your rights. That is the paradigm we're under, and unfortunately, they just like to shove it in your face every single year. Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden, Obama. I mean, Trump. Sorry, I got my puppets confused. But that's the point. Every single one of them, every single year, gives their rubber stamp to this ongoing, never-ending, continuous state of terror emergency. And you better be scared, guys. I hope you're scared enough to give up all your rights.
And you're echoing the statement that Ronald Reagan at least popularized. Whatever, the most dangerous words in the American English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Kind of seems like the Trumpers maybe have forgotten that phrase from the guy they, of course, love to exalt and think in some ways they are kind of echoing and trying to repeat that feeling of the 80s. James, I've got a picture of myself holding up an old issue. It was new at the time. Holding up an issue of the Oregonian, the newspaper in Portland, Oregon, back when I used to do my weekly live Media Monarchy show on pirate radio broadcasts. And it says, "Black helicopters over Portland?" And that's going on almost 20 years ago. Again, a lot of this stuff doesn't exactly happen overnight. It might feel like it, but the groundwork has been laid for a long, long time. I'll try and find that picture. Maybe we can throw that in the show notes as well. Good thing, James, your new online open source education digital downloads are hot and selling like hotcakes because the Canada Post is on strike again. I just learned today. So take note, any folks that might affect. It will affect our ability to run newworldnextweek.com and to get you Corporate Report and Media Monarchy shirts and gear and hats and discs and USBs and DJ sets and all of that helps support our work and keeps us fear-free and ad-free. And yes, I do play the exclusive audio of these New World Next Week episodes. Nobody's heard them but me and James and Brock. I premiere them on my morning show, after my morning show. That's about 10 a.m. Mountain Time on MediaMonarchy.com/listen. James, good to have you back, buddy.
It's good to be back doing this with you, James. Thank you again for these stories. And thank you to all the people out there who are supporting the work through newworldnextweek.com and supporting at MediaMonarchy.com and CorbettReport.com. We appreciate you and your support, and we'll be back next week to do it all again.
Thanks so much, buddy. Take care.
Take care.